Namaste, my dears. Quite often I get a question. What is the best way to use Amanita? In a powder form, tincture, or maybe tea with lemon? So, I decided to share with you those things and wisdoms which I have gathered on this topic. So, first of all, you have to know that Amanita kind of came to the public in the last 6 years, 5 years, and it came from multiple angles. If we speak from the angle from the eastern side, which means Russia, Europe, and this area, then we have developed together with my partner exactly this method of microdosing Amanita muscaria in powder form, which we put in pills. This we have done through our own personal research and tests. Eventually, we had a testing group in Estonia, we had a testing group in Russia, and through that, we developed exactly the understanding that the best measurement of the red amanita is 0.35 grams per pill. And eventually, you take 2 pills in the morning and the evening, and that is in powder form. Or you can also take without the pill, just the powder in 0.35. Then once we have done it and we made an official product with all the licenses gathered in Russia and it came to the market, it just blew. It just blew off the market and people were so interested and there was such a big hype that even without advertisement, within the first 2 months, more than 100 different companies and people started to copy our methodology and eventually do the same thing. While at the same time, if we look to the west and we look towards US, uh, there came out a different method of using amanita in its consumption and preparation. Mostly it was developed by such an important person as Amanita Dreamer. Um, Many of you know of her, who is connected with Amanita, and she shared her story, how she got connected with this medicine, and eventually her own method of using it. So that method, it's exactly the explanation that there's ibotenic acid, which is being converted through the lamic acid, and the Amanita becomes more smoother, and then you boil this tea and then you put it into the fridge and you take some zips from time to time. So, is it a good method? Well, yes. Is it a working method? Yes, it is. Do people get results for that? For sure. Is it an easy method? Well, if you ask, you use powder or you focus on boiling tea and then keep it fresh in the fridge so it won't spoil, I think the answer is obvious. And then the third aspect is exactly using Amanita in tincture. And this method, it again has mostly developed in the West because, as you know, pharmaceutical industry is making, I think, more than $2 trillion only from the U.S. market. So people have a habit of consuming things which are concentrated and filtered out. So through that, you get from a big amount of amanita a small tincture, which you use, consume, and you get the effect from the muscimol. So which one of the three is the old method that the shamans and all of our ancestors were using? Well, all I can tell you that back then, for example, the shamans of Siberia, they didn't have lemon. They didn't have the lemon acid. They were not using the aspect of boiling it, keep it in the fridge. They were, of course, using the powder. Why I personally prefer using the powder, and what is the difference, for example, from tincture towards, let's say, boiling the amanita with lemon? So, well, first of all, if we take tincture, then you make it through filtering out many other elements in Amanita muscaria. In Amanita muscaria, maybe I'll put it under the video, there's a huge list of elements which is inside of the mushroom, which are healing and which are important for the body to process. If we take away the body of the mushroom, we also take away parts of the elements. And as you know, in nature, everything fits together perfectly. And if nature has developed this mushroom or any other medicine plant in a specific way, then there's a deep wisdom behind it. So for that reason, it will filter out and put aside, let's say, 10 components and leave out only 4. Then you can understand yourself that the healing effect from this will happen, but it will be on a smaller scale. And it will consume a lot more of, let's say, the product to produce it. So there's quite a big waste of amanita or any other, let's say, mushroom that are being converted into a tincture. Is the tincture effective? Yes, it can be. And at the same time, we have discovered that in the US, there's a huge amount of chemical made muscimol, which was produced in China, which flooded the US market, through which a lot of candies and things, gummy bears, were produced not from the natural amanita, but exactly from the filtered out or the chemistry created in muscimol from China. So now let's jump into lemon or powder, or let's say tea, lemon, with amanita or the powder form. I personally prefer powder. I think all of our essencers prefer powder. It's very easy to use it. You just take the powder and just eat it, and then you consume it on empty stomach in the morning, in the evening, or you make a double dose in the morning. Why I personally prefer this method? Well, first of all, when you keep it in powder form, it doesn't spoil so fast as it will happen if you will make tea from it. Once you make the tea, you understand that you need to keep it in the fridge, pay attention, and also certain elements are being taken out because while you boil it and then you filter out the physical part of an amanita, of course you have a good concentration of the substance, but at the same time specific elements are also taken out. And while you boil it, well, you know yourself, certain living elements die when you put them in temperature above 60 degrees. For example, like with psychedelic mushrooms, some elements get lost. Does it so strongly affect Amanita? No, it doesn't. Does it make it smoother? Mm, by practice, some people share that yes, it does. From my personal experience, I have paid attention and we made a study that the Amanita in America and the Amanita in Europe with Russia are different. Even though Amanita grows all around the world, it has more than 30 or 40 even species, that the concentration of different elements is different. And the amanita in US, let's say it has more botanic acid, or it has more effects which can make you feel vomiting. So I think that if you're using the Amanita muscaria from United States and you have gathered there, maybe make it with a lemon. It's a lot better to do it. Then it becomes truly smoother. But if you're using Amanita from Europe or Russia, you truly have absolutely no need to boil it with lemon because you can preserve it better. You're going to have more healing components and elements. And eventually, I think it's so much easier to consume. You just take the powder, eat it, or put it in the glass of cold water, warm water, just stir it and drink it. Rather than boiling it, focusing on the pH level, and all the rest of the process, and then afterwards maybe freezing it because it can spoil within a couple of weeks if you don't consume it. So this reason, this is my catch, this is my approach, that I personally prefer amanita in powder form, and I prefer the old way how amanita was consumed by our ancestors, exactly in hard powder dried form. This will allow you to keep it safe, and this will allow you, well, even better control the dosage. You should also know that amanita, even grown in one forest or one land, can have 2 times strength and difference depending was it growing inside of the forest or on the edge of the forest of a field where the sun was shining. So that's why Amanita still remains a secret and a mystery. But I just wanted to share with you this wisdom that be relaxed. You can use powder form, especially this advice for people from the West. This is how all of our ancestors, all of our shamans, and everybody who was doing it, everybody did it just in dry form. It is more healthy, it has more components, more elements, it's easier to keep it, and many other things. And at the same time, if you have gathered Amanita in US and you see that it's super botanic strong, well, then boil it with lemon. It's also a method. And the tincture curve, I would personally put it aside only if you know the producer, as unfortunately there's a lot of fraud happening currently with the chemical muscimol. So I hope this will help for the people who are searching for the answer. And if somebody is looking for very high quality amanita, I have a good friend in Germany to who I helped to receive some high quality amanita from Russia, and we have test labbed it for all components and also heavy metals. So everybody who was thinking where to get good amanita, you can also check his website and his shop. I'll also share the link below. So, in the rest, feel free to ask your questions, and I will happily share the wisdom that I personally have gathered through my personal path and work, and also in the process of creation of the Manita microdosing and the methodologies to work with it through the last 6 years of my lifetime. So, much love and blessings, and namaste. I worship the God within you.